Yesterday, within 24 hours of hearing the news, someone sent me a song that was written about Charlie. It's called A Man Called Charlie. And the lyrics were written by Michael Gray Griffith, and it's going to become an anthem. It's already had more than 1 million views. We're going to play that now. So as we do, please bow your heads in remembrance of this great man.
It was raining last night. I could hear it dancing on the roof. I fell asleep listening to the beauty of rain. But when I woke, you were gone. Someone had used their hate to take you away. And so the rain of last night is now raining inside of me. I think the angels just might be standing up to welcome you home, as we remain here fighting in the trench that just grew colder. But despite the shot, I know you're not dead. Instead, you're leaving light could become our new dawn. I wonder if when your mother first held you, as all the love you brought was a dawn in her eyes, did if she ever sensed then that a warrior was here, with a tongue for a sword and the armor of truth? For in a darkening world that's being turned upside down, you were a single man that rose until we could see you from here. How many roads must a man walk down before we call him a man? Well, I'm on your road, to try and emulate you by constructing a sign that reads, Charlie Kirk, a man passed this way. On his journey to the son who he knew, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us home. On his journey one day lead us all home.
Before I bring my guests on tonight, I just want to say it's as I've traveled around Australia and done all these interviews, I hear a lot of people, especially my generation, they don't have anything good to say about this young generation. They say they're not interested, they're lazy, they're self-indulgent. And I have to say, I think they need to get out more, because I haven't come across that. I don't come across that at all. And to show you, I just want to show you this. I was walking in the march in Sydney, and they had us up the front, and we had the megaphone. And there was a gentleman behind us, a young man, 18 years old, 16 years old, sorry. And he was just calling out, I need to buy a house and other things like that. He was just really, well, he was great at revving the crowd up. So I gave him a go on the on the megaphone, and then I said to him, "Listen, I've been given 5 minutes to speak. Why don't I give you half?" And so we got him half, and this is what happened.
Let Johnny speak now. It's a joy to be here. I can't believe we've reached a time where holding up our flag is a revolutionary act. Here, Johnny.
Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you everyone for coming here. I was not expecting this. Look, I am here because my generation can't afford housing. I am here because my generation are living in a cost of living crisis. I have now come to the fact that our government does not care about my generation. I have come to the fact that Anthony Albanese does not care about my generation.
Really quickly.
This is wrong, and this is a failing system. So I want to say thank you to everyone here, and God bless Australia. So thank you very much, everyone.
Wait, before we go.
And then, because he had the crowd behind him and he'd revved them up, I asked him to face me and do the chant, and then he did this.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Louder!
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Tell him we can't hear him.
Aussie! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Tell him louder.
Louder! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! 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 Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Oi, oi, oi!
Thank you very much.
Anyway, on our Twitter page, he's had over 1 million views for that. And we got in contact with him to do an interview, but his mother's very frightened and she wanted to take him down, but he managed to convince her not to. But he wrote us this text. I want to read it out. So everybody thinks the young have nothing to offer. I want to read this out. I was originally planning to go to St. Mary's Cathedral to pay my respects for the late Charlie Kirk, a man who clearly lived with passion and wasn't afraid to stand up for what he believed in. But about an hour before I left, I realized there was a protest happening that afternoon too. After reading about the issues being addressed and seeing how urgent they were, I quickly made a sign and decided to go. Honestly, I think taking a stand for what you strongly believe is exactly what Charlie Kirk would have done. And that inspired me to join in. I came to the march because I could see how deeply young Australians are being failed. My generation has been locked out of housing, weighed down with student debt, and pushed into insecure jobs, while decisions made at the top continue to prioritise foreign investors, big corporates, and short-term politics. Being right at the front wasn't about making a noise for the sake of it. It was about standing up for the people who feel like they don't have a future here if things don't change. Something I think Charlie would have respected. It was passionate because this crisis is personal. Gen Z are working harder than ever, yet we can't afford rent, let alone buy a home. We study for years but find ourselves competing for casual work while the government relies on migration and overseas money instead of investing in us. We're told to be patient while our lives are put on hold. What I'd like to see is real action, a housing system that prioritizes Australians, over speculation, a university system that doesn't leave locals behind while chasing overseas fees, and a government that listens to young people instead of writing us off. Overall, the march gave me hope that when we stand together and refuse to stay quiet, we can push for meaningful change. Charlie Kirk's life reminded me that courage and conviction matter, and that standing up for what you believe in can inspire others to do the same. We are Charlie Kirk. What I'm seeking is an Australia where I can feel secure about my future, and an Australia where my generation isn't put on hold. That's all there really is to say. Once again, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Peace and love.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Tell him we can't hear him. He's 16 years old. So let's hear no more about this generation are less than what we were hoping they would be. And here I have two other gentlemen that I've had on before, and I'm big fans of both of them. So thank you for coming on, guys.
Pleasure
Thank you
being here.
Have you?
for having us.
Yeah, no worries. I might start with John. John, what were your thoughts? And you're studying theology, right?
Yep.
Where were you, and what were your thoughts when you heard about and feelings when you heard about the shooting of Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, I'd just it was about 5 or 5:30 in the morning. I'd just woken up and I thought, oh, I'll have a look at my phone, see what's happening. I'm like half awake, and then the first thing I see is Charlie Kirk is shot. I'm like, wait, what? Charlie Kirk is shot? And the next thing I see is Charlie Kirk is assassinated. I'm like, what? And then not too long after that, I see the video, and it was a horrible video. I hope I never see it again. And yeah, I was heartbroken. I cried for hours, if I'm honest. I haven't cried like that since my grandma died. And yeah,
What were you crying about, do you think?
well, for me, like my first sort of reactions weren't anger. Like that wasn't the first. The first thing that came to my mind was just absolute sadness that we lost. Like Charlie was an extremist by any stretch.
Mm,
He wasn't a crazy fanatic. He wasn't this stirrer up of people. He was just one of us. He was a normal, average conservative person.
yeah,
Um, and they killed him just because he disagreed with other people, and his wife is left without a husband, and the two kids, like the daughter Gigi, and I can't remember the small son's name, who's a toddler. And um yeah, I was just so heartbroken over it, and then just for hours just seeing all the things come in, and that the fact that Erica and the daughter Gigi were at the event, and the different things to do with the shooter, and yeah, for hours and hours and hours. And but for me, it was really sad because like we lost a really strong Christian that was involved in politics. Christianity wasn't just a side thing for him; it was his center. It was where his framework for his worldview, for his economic theory, for his cultural theory, every theory was based on his biblical worldview. And you won't see that these days. You won't see people be courageous enough to say, "I'm going to stand on what I actually believe." And so, yeah, that's what he did. And yeah, I was heartbroken. Yeah,
how old are you, John?
I'm 20.
Okay. Riley, where were you when you heard about it or saw about it, and what were your first impressions?
Well, I was in bed just like John, and I turned on the phone to see what had happened. And well, I somehow wasn't surprised because we're seeing the
Wow.
world as well. People are being shot down for free speech. If you're liberal or conservative, you're called a Nazi. People are sick of it, and now they're just going to start killing people for saying, "I believe in Jesus," the most simplistic thing. Charlie Kirk was all about humanitarianism before politics,
Mm,
and now we're seeing genocide of Christians in the West, where
Yeah, we are.
where it was the strongest, and now we're
mm,
just seeing the fall of it. And I don't know, this could have opened the floodgates to something else. That's my first thought. I'm thinking, this is a man who was Christian. He wasn't extremist by any means, but now we're going to see people who are more extreme be caught up in this flood of hatred and despise against the left and Antifa. And now we're going to see the rise of something much more extreme. That was my first thought. I'm thinking, what would be the result of this assassination? And why would they take such a beautiful Christian man away from our world like that for just saying he believes in God? That's what
Mm.
I thought. Initially, yeah.
There's two things that I've noticed that are happening is that Christians are rising everywhere, especially young male Christians,
mm.
and
Mm.
and on the other side, there are these people who are dancing on his bones, basically, and they're copping backlash. What are your thoughts about what's happening with those, John?
Yeah. Well, out of this like tragedy, like this has been sort of hanging over my head for the past week, and no matter how many times you go over what's happened and try and forget about it, you can't forget about something like this. And the fact that um, out of this, we're going to see a lot of good come out of it. And I think we're going to see more good than bad in the long term. But in the immediate term, we're seeing a lot of evil people celebrating his murder. And like I've every time I've seen it come up on my feed, I've just tried to skip past it as much as possible because it's just I can't even take it. I can't even take people attacking such a man who was like he's not I don't know, he's not like a Candace Owens or a Alex Jones or anything, not even close. Not even close. And to think that they're attacking him of all people, it's and like the vile things they say about him, the lies they construe. Um, but on the other hand, I think out of this we're gonna see. I hope, and my prayer is that out of this we'll see a Christian revival of the West, especially in the US and potentially in the UK, in Australia, in European countries, and maybe South American countries, maybe globally, because Charlie Kirk wasn't just an American figure; he was a global figure. Like
Mm,
almost everyone under the age of 30 knew who he was. Almost
mm,
almost everyone under the age of 30 knew who he was between like 30 to 12 or so. Because no matter what culture you come from, no matter what religion you are, what worldview you have, the clips of him will just come in your feed all the time. And you have to interact with that. You've got to consider what he's talking about. And so this is like the death of like, I don't know, like an Elvis back in the day where
yeah,
everybody or like the Beatles were like a huge, like a global phenomenon. Um,
yeah.
and so
Like
I
the death
think
of Lennon.
yeah, and so, like,
I was. Can
like
I just
yeah,
interrupt as an old man?
yeah,
I
no,
was I was your age, I think, or probably Riley's age, I think,
mm,
and working in a Hungry Jack store, standing on a fryer with my feet on the edge of the fryer, cleaning the thing. It was nighttime, and we hadn't really been following the Beatles,
mm,
but it came over the news then. We didn't have the internet then.
mm,
It came. It amazed we had like a carrier pigeon turn up, but no, that we had news,
mm,
and on the radio it said John Lennon had been murdered. And it was
wow,
the same sensation. You
mm,
suddenly felt like the world had gone down a couple of degrees. And but what we didn't have was we didn't have the hate. The whole world
mm,
just mourned.
mm,
And here we are with the hate. So
mm.
were you wanting to finish something you just said? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll just finish off with this one point. People have compared the death of Charlie Kirk to the death of George Floyd. Two completely different people, two different people that have um, scoured the internet through, like in his time, George Floyd. Um, but the difference is like when you see the videos of what people who were on either people's side were doing at that time. During when Floyd died, people were rioting shops and burning buildings down and doing all sorts of evil things. But when Charlie Kirk died, people were praying, they were going to
Mm,
vigils,
mm,
they've gone to church all of a sudden. We're seeing people
mm.
get saved at churches just like that in a couple of days. So I feel like like they're calling it the Charlie effect, and I think this is really this is going to be long lasting in my opinion. I think this is going to last more than a generation.
Yeah, I wrote a piece called "The Rise of the Kirkians," saying that people
Mm,
want to go emulate him,
mm,
and literally will become like Kirk. So you're a Kirkian,
mm, mm,
and I see in America, I see young men are doing it already. They've got tables out.
mm,
They're
mm,
trying to replicate what he does, and I've never seen that before. I mean,
mm,
I'm much older than both of you. I've never seen hate aimed at anyone who died, even a bad person. Usually, once they're dead, you don't speak ill of the
mm,
dead. It's just this a human, respectful, unwritten law that we all abide by. But here, you know, what about you, Riley? What about you facing both sides, both the rise of Christianity and people going back to church and praying, and the rise of the hate?
Well, I'll start on a bad note. So the rise of hate. So we look back at like he was Christian. He was a spokesman of God. You look back at Jesus. Jesus himself was crucified. So as a Christian, life is a crusade. And his life was a crusade at a globalized level.
Yeah.
So the way that he impacted the world with so much love in Christianity, it's just over where like sorry, it's over it's just it's more than good. It's just the most beautiful, perfect way of looking at the world, and you can't take it down. You cannot take that down. And we're seeing that after his death, this resurgence of Christianity, this belief in not just God and Jesus, but also MAGA, because he was also a spokesperson for MAGA. So as you were saying, John, it was a humanitarian aspect of it. He was humanitarian. And I believe that the assassination of Charlie Kirk has also, I believe that this morality of the left, this morality of revolution. So if you look at the neo-Marxism, that's based on Marxism, an aspect of revolution, which revolution is a core value in, if you read Das Kapital, that's a core aspect of socialism. A byproduct is going to be death, destruction, war. That's revolution. And if you look at their morality, they're seen as this king of moral. They are moral. If you're not a neo-Marxist, you're a Nazi, basically. So they, BLM, Antifa, and then Children of Palestine. Christians, we don't just pray for the specific groups of people. We pray for everyone. That's the thing. We pray for Gaza. We pray for children in the womb. We pray for everyone. We are humanitarians above all. And they are saying that they are the king of moral. They are not. And this is an emphasis in this case of how disgusting they are, quite frankly, of how they're celebrating death, revolution. And they are the furthest thing from moral. They are the furthest thing from humanitarian. They are nowhere near it. And as you were saying, John, about the George Floyd being killed and, looting, protesting, burning down cities. What happened when Charlie Kirk was killed? All we did was pray, go to church,
grieve.
Have faith in Christ. Yeah, grief. Our faith in Christ has galvanized from this.
Yes.
And our sadness has done that. So even in death, Charlie Kirk is still impacting the world to a great extent. So it's amazing to see that.
Well, all our feeds are still full of little people are sharing his little speeches. I think they're going to be doing that forever. I think we're going to be seeing those for well over 10 years. Can I ask, I'll start with you, Riley. Why do you think they hated him so much? They hated him so much that one of them killed him. What it seems to be, that's what's happened. And the others, and another group is cheering on the death. But so why did they hate him so much?
They have no logical counter argument to all of his ideas. So he was right about a lot of things, almost everything. He was Christian. He was in the MAGA economics. And I mean, that's pretty spot on to a lot of, what I believe is the truth. I believe that's the truth. And he was spot on. And they had no logical counter argument to anything he was saying. So if you look at his debates, the way he was able to counteract their, like they come at him like they're speaking factual things, statistics. No, he was able to counteract that. And they had nothing on him. And if you look at, I want to bring it back to this. I remember in our last interview, we talked about the interwar period. I don't know if you're aware, but he wrote things on the bullets he was setting up before he was going to shoot Charlie Kirk.
That's correct.
And one of the things he wrote was Ciao Bella Ciao. So in Italian, that's Bye Beautiful. And that was an anti-fascist song. So this moment in history has somehow interconnected with the interwar period once again. So I was also shocked about that. So as you said this, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. That was your quote.
Yes. I was told that by someone put it forward, and I really like it.
Yeah. So that's what I feel is going. It's like a simulation of that time period, but we're bringing this Christianity into it, and that's amazing. So that's what John's saying. It's the Christian way of doing things, and that's why he was hated so much, because he was such a humanitarian and such a loving person of everyone that they have nothing on him, and they never will. So that's my little homily.
Thank you. What are your thoughts, John?
Well, I think for me, I've got sort of 3 reasons that are coming up in my head. One is that he was effective. That's number one. no one could do what he did on college campuses. Like
No.
for years, they've been talking about how we're going to take back the colleges, how we're going to stop all the woke ideology, and he's like, I'm just going to go over there, I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to debate them, and I'm going to win them over, and they're like, oh yeah, right, and then he did it, like like he created the biggest uh like voting turnover organization in America. And if they hadn't been around, Donald Trump would not have won the White House.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
correct.
and so like that's number one. He was effective. He knew how to win an argument, and he knew how to do it well. And the second thing is he spoke the truth. That's ultimately that's what he did. He wasn't. They didn't kill him because he was speaking lies. Like Jesus was perfect, and they still crucified him. And so what Charlie said was the truth. Everything he said was true. And so if you want to believe something, you're going to believe it no matter what. And if you don't want to accept the truth, then you're just gonna you've got nothing to stand against it. So they just killed him because they've got nothing else to come against it, which is what Riley was saying. And then my third sort of thought is something that's been popping up a bit in the Republican side is that the left leaning media, mainstream media, has been for years saying that Trump and Charlie Kirk and Republicans are equivalent to Nazis and Hitler, when they're nothing of the sort.
Mm.
They're not. It's not even close. Like if you keep saying a lie, if you keep saying a lie, how many over and over and over and over, eventually someone will believe it's true.
Yes.
And so that's what's happened here. So many people, they believe because someone disagrees with them that they're these awful, evil people that want to destroy mankind or something like that. It's the most disgusting thing. And I think recently in my studies, I've been learning about different denominations and how we sort of interact with each other, and people that I haven't interacted with before, and I've realized they've got so much to offer, and I've got so much to offer, and we've just got to integrate so many of the different approaches. And people on the left side, they have things that we can adopt in some cases, and even if we disagree with them vehemently, we're not going to write them off as a Hitler or as just because we disagree with them. This is all it is a matter of opinion. But now,
Mm.
because truth is relative, right? Because truth is relative, it's all about me, and all truth resides in myself. That means if you disagree with me, you're writing against the universe. You're writing against everything that I stand for. So you're coming at me personally. You're attacking my beliefs, my heart, my existence, like the transgender ideology. If you say I'm a different body, that means you're attacking my existence. So ultimately, Charlie was writing truth against the lies, and the lies took him out, but only as a traveling destination to heaven. So
Now that's a beautiful way to end that. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I've never known a time where you could be killed for an opinion, which is where we are now. And as a podcaster, I rang all the other major podcasters in Australia, or the ones I knew, and asked them how they were, because I said that bullet was aimed at our throat. That bullet was aimed at both of your throats. It's saying if you disagree with the narrative, we're prepared to shoot you. We've shot Charlie, so you guys, us three, were nothing. And yet that was the sort of the threat that seems to have gone out, and no one's actually gone, okay, I'll back off. Everyone else has just remained doing what they're doing, or they've stood up. I've all these beautiful videos on the internet of men going, I've never spoken before, but I'm speaking now. Even that young man came to the march because of Charlie Kirk. So I said to him, you're 16, you just came to the march, you're inspired by Charlie Kirk, and you end up in front of a crowd of 5,000 people and you got a million views. So it's like the light can't be doused. You can only kill one body. I mean, you look at you two. I know you're both Christians. The other night, after the vigil, I walked through Sydney. I was in Sydney then. Walked through Sydney, and there was some African Australians. They were there with a choir selling Jesus. Further down the mall, there was Asian Australians selling Jesus. Further down the mall, there was white Australians selling Jesus. And then down the end, there was some races, I'm not sure, they were all selling Jesus. And I thought, this man's been dead for 2,000 years. Australia didn't exist as far as he knew when he was here. He had no internet, no Instagram, nothing like that, no social media group. And yet here we are in this one little mall in Sydney, and you got four groups competing, in a friendly way, trying to sell the message of Jesus, which hasn't been silenced or quenched after 2,000 years of famine and war and hate and genocide. They're not out there selling Nazi propaganda. They're selling Jesus. So going with Riley, what do you think is some of the fundamental core principles or the core message in Jesus's words that it's still being sold today?
Well, especially with the Charlie Kirk assassination, the biggest I can think of off the top of my head is respect, common respect, decency, and love for each other. Like, that's pretty basic stuff. And that's what Jesus, if you read the Bible, that's exactly what Jesus is trying to encourage us to do, is to respect each other as human beings, the most basic thing, all the way from when you were in the womb all the way until you die. Like, just respect, love, and cherish our lives. But that's the most important thing. And that's what's so appealing to people in this world that's so harsh, and it can change in a second. So like COVID-19 took over the world within a couple of months. It was literally 1984 as we knew it. You couldn't, you had to be vaccinated. You had to not walk 5 kilometers from your house. The world can change. And, we go on our phones, we're looking at assassinations daily. We're looking at genocides just exposed to us. We're in bed, the most comfortable part of the whole world for us. And we're just looking at the most horrible things a man can do to another man. So this appeal of Jesus Christ being loving, humanitarian above all, is probably the most crucial aspect of I argue, as a human being. And people are starting to wake up and think that, yeah, maybe we need to respect each other as humans. Maybe we need to have this model of Christianity in our society as cultural fundamentalism. Because, I mean, look at other societies around the globe. Look how people are treated. Like, I don't mean to, I'm not attacking, but I'm saying women in the Middle East, in some nations there, they're treated very disrespectfully, like locked up in cages. Afghanistan, yeah. So, it's pretty compelling evidence that Christianity is, well, Christ is king. It is number one for humanitarianism. That's what I argue.
Thank you, John. What you want to add to that? As a theological student, you better kick this one out of the park, buddy.
Oh, now all the pressure's on me. Oh, great. I'll piggyback off Riley for a second, then I'll get my own point. One of the things that's remarked about Charlie and the way he debated students on campus is that whenever anyone would come up, he always thought of them first as a person, not as what culture they came from or what sexuality or what worldview they had. First of all, he thought of them as a person. That was one of all the things you could do to give just common dignity. That's what Charlie did. And I think my point is that the biggest thing that Charlie was always talking about is get married, don't have sex before marriage, go to church, build strong families, and all of that was centered around his Christian faith. And he said on a podcast before he died, he said he was asked what he wanted to be remembered for if he died, and he said he wanted to be remembered for his courage and his faith. That's the most important thing to him, because that's the thing you can't kill. You can't kill faith if it's real. Like if it's not real, you can kill it. Like in the Bible, there was this story of the early church. Jesus had gone into heaven, and the early church they're trying to preach the gospel, and they're getting persecuted by the Pharisees and the leaders, and they thrown into prison and they're whipped and all that. And this wise Pharisee, he says to them, look, if this is from God, if this isn't from God, then it'll just fizzle away on its own. But if this is from God, You can't stop this thing. You've got no chance. So they let them go, and 2,000 years later, this is where we are. Because it's true. You can't destroy truth because truth will always prevail. Even though Charlie is dead, he's more alive than ever. He's in the presence of God. He would have heard God tell him, "Well done, good and faithful servant." That's what all of us Christians want to hear. We're waiting for the day when we get to go to heaven. And that's the thing, right? The biggest thing for the world is to kill someone. Yeah, that's the most glorious thing for us because we get to go to heaven forever. Like obviously death isn't great, right? But compared to here, heaven is 10 million times better, and we get to experience that forever. So yeah.
It's interesting, because I live on the road, and you come up to country towns where some of the houses are literally ruins, and there'll be a stone church there that people
Mm,
built. They put more effort into building their
mm,
church as a
mm,
community than they did on their own houses.
mm,
And now the people are gone. The church might be empty, and the house is ruins, but here's this church. So all through history, and I'll come up to you as because you're studying history, Riley. All through
mhm,
history, people build churches. They build places of worship. So what is it in us that we have this need to believe or show our appreciation or something for a God? You know what I mean?
It's like earning our keep almost. And I like to think of it when you're talking about this bricks and mortar aspect of Christianity churches, it's not the church that makes it a church, it's the congregation that
No.
makes it a church.
mm,
So it's very communal in the way it brings our community together. And Christianity has played a fundamental role in building family structures, societal structures, like laws, like everything, governments, everything. Christianity has binded us together as a society for thousands of years. And I mean, look at where we are today technologically. That's one example of what Christianity has done for us. So it has played a crucial role throughout our history, and it's prevailed despite many, many things, many ideologies and many conflicts that have attempted to wipe it out. But that just
Well, the
goes to show the
USSR
power.
tried to wipe it out, and
Sorry?
the
Or the
USSR
US.
tried to wipe
Yeah, of
out
course.
Christianity, and I think in
Yeah.
China and Russia now, Christianity is the fastest growing religion in both countries. It's
Yeah,
extraordinary,
it is. It
you
is
know.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's and even in the Middle East, Christianity is rising in the Middle East. You'd be surprised. Like the only thing stopping that is, of course, Islamic organizations that are very nationalistic, killing people. But it is the largest growing religion in a lot of those countries. So it's amazing to see that all these very dictatorial countries that are strongly opposing Jesus Christ, Christianity, that's where Christianity's starting to spark and rise up. And in the West, it's actually, well, it was going down for a while, for a long time. The generation
Mm,
before ours, Gen Z is
yeah.
actually, it's rising. Christianity is rising a lot, which is amazing. And because we're seeing the mistakes of our forefathers, look how disgusting the society was. Look how degenerate it was. Parties, drugs, alcohol, sex. No, we're starting to see this. I don't know. It's amazing. The power of it is amazing. We're starting to see this massive revolution in a positive way, a revolution of faith. And as John was saying, there is faith and there is hope. There is hope in this. And Charlie Kirk was almost like a catalyst for faith. His assassination, he did, he did preach it. And to see someone so liberal about his views and to see everyone as human beings, that's a big aspect of the jump in Christianity, even over the past few days, which is incredible to see that.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm I'm,
it's
I'm sad that I didn't go to the Sydney that but that looked amazing.
Oh, the vigil was lovely. But
Yeah.
going back, can the church was declining in my time. When I was about 14 or 15, sexual scandals were coming out with the priests abusing children. So that was like a cancer ripping through the church. And the churches were getting quieter. I remember we came to church one day and must have been about 14 or 15, and there was broken eggs all over the altar, and some young men had been throwing eggs at the crucifix, and the priest wouldn't have it cleaned up, but what it sort of showed was a disrespect of of the symbol of the crucifix. But
Mm.
I do think, looking back, that times were simpler. There was money everywhere. There was work everywhere. And I wonder, and maybe ask John this, in easy times where there's no oppression, no one's getting assassinated. I mean, there's wars around the world, but there always is. But in Australia, it's a she'll be right era, going to the footy,
Mm.
going this. Do we sort of feel we don't need Jesus or God and walk away from it? And so not only are we going back now because of Charlie, but times are harder and we're confused and we're sort of going back into a journey looking for truth. Do you think there's anything to that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the Gen Z have seen the Gen Z, my generation, have seen the moral relativism of the past generations, the sexual pleasure, the drugs, the alcohol, as Riley said, um, the the um the degeneration of society when Christianity is taken out of the picture. And I think young people are starting to see that um, that there has to be something more. There's got to be something beyond our mortal existence. There has to be a truth that actually does exist, that can't be just relative. Um, and so, um, what was your question, Michael? I forgot.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just wondering if, like, you were talking about the churches dying. Riley was saying how
Yeah.
the church went down. I was in that era. I saw
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
churches were
Okay.
empty. And now they're
Mm,
starting to fill. I get
mm,
invited to a
mm,
church and I get surprised. I walk in this small church and it's packed. And a lot of
yeah.
it is young people and a lot of it is young men,
Mm,
which I find really
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I think we will see a resurgence because of what I've said. I think especially for me, we're seeing the impacts of the decisions we made decades ago. Like the little small compromises, not like big ones, like the little small compromises that lead up to the big ones. Those are the ones that we've been like, oh, I think there's a quote like what one generation doesn't really take a stand on, doesn't really care about, the next generation will see it as unnecessary. So every little thing impact I don't know, from when we were colonized and we started, they started to allow alcohol slowly, and then sort of small things like that, and prostitution and different things like that. We're seeing where here in Australia, 100,000 babies are being aborted every year. IVF is out of control. We're seeing babies that are being born to women that aren't theirs. We're seeing millions that are frozen in fridges all over the place. We're seeing euthanasia going out of control. There was a story in the news where there was a black market euthanasia scheme going on where this 84-year-old lady is killing people. Um, and I think people are starting to wake up. They're starting to see this isn't right. There's got to be something more. There has to be transcendent reality. And I think, as you were saying, a quote that I think I mentioned last time we talked by to Italian is that the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. When things aren't going well, that's when we turn to God, because that's when we realize we actually need God. We need God all the time, whether things are good or bad, but we don't realize it when we're good. Ultimately, the devil, he wouldn't mind it if everything was all nice and rosy. He wouldn't actually inflict anything bad on anyone, because they wouldn't need to know God, because there's nothing they don't think about the eternal factor. Because that's ultimately what we're arguing about, whether our lives are just 80 years long or if they're eternally long. And if the devil could convince us that our lives are just 80 years long, then he could just be like, oh yeah, do what you want. And then you can suffer in hell for all eternity. But if we're convinced now that our lives are precious, they're valuable, and they go on for eternity, then we've got much more to think about than 80 years. We've got to use our 80 years or whatever. Like, it could be 1 year, it could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, whatever we've got left, we've got to use it to the glory of God until we're taken home. And so, with the times of persecution that we're seeing, with the anti-free speech laws, with the COVID, all the stuff we saw with that, with people isolated, where people were torn apart by communities of whether vaccinated or unvaccinated, or churches and denominations that have separated based on whether they're going to be progressive or they're going to stay conservative. We're seeing the church being purified. That's what was talked about all the time throughout the Bible, that the church has to be pure before Jesus comes back. And so in this purification, we're going to see pretty much a revival. The world is going to persecute us. The church is going to get stronger, and more people are going to come to Christ. It's like a reverse psychology. Like often in theological circles, you hear Christianity talked about as the upside down kingdom, because everything is the opposite. You kill the most perfect man when you're getting when you suffer. That's when things are good. Uh, and so I think that's what we're going to see now for future decades. But the thing is with that, I don't want to just sell that out and say we've actually got to do something. We can't just be like, oh yeah, that's going to happen just automatically. We've actually got to be on the front foot and bringing these people into the kingdom. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen.
So we've got to pick up Charlie's dropped.
That's right. Yeah.
Dropped. What would you call it? Beacon. Baton. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
there's an interesting. I have a cousin who's an Irish truck driver, and he said to me, I can't do an Irish accent, but he said, "There's no atheists in foxholes, Michael. There's no atheists in foxholes, Michael," and which is about bad times going forward. But just going back a bit historically, I don't know if you guys remember, but the opening of the Olympics I saw as a full frontal attack on Christianity. They tried to backpedal. But what were your thoughts on that, Riley? Because I thought no other religion would stand for that. They certainly wouldn't do that to the Muslims. You know, Paris would still be burning if they did. But what was your thoughts on that?
Well, this well, it is an all front attack on Christianity. I mean, we pulled up that video in our last interview, J Christ by Lil Nas X. That's one example.
Yeah,
the Olympics. I mean, you know, they call Trump Hitler. I mean, that's it. They're just so illogical. And I think that Jesus Christ is the enemy. He's unironically the Antichrist, which I don't know. That's very weird. But as I said, they have no logical counter arguments at all with anyone on the right. So the whole mojo of being on the left is just attack. And if they're attacking Christianity, well, they do. They have control of the media. It is a globalist, neo-Marxist ideology that rules our governments.
Would you agree with that, John?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The control of the media. Yeah. Sorry, keep going, Riley.
Yeah, well, they're going to utilize that platform, that globalized stage, to attack the absolute hell out of Christianity, and that's what they're doing. Look at mainstream media. I mean, the Olympics is one out of so many examples. I mean, what was it, NBC, or was it what was it, ABC in America? That journalist who was talking about Charlie Kirk, saying it was one of his own supporters that shot him.
Yeah, NBC. Yeah.
So NBC, sorry, it was NBC. So that's one example. It's a continuity. And it's almost like this Roman Empire situation where people are being distracted in this coliseum of deceptiveness. So with social media, sport, entertainment, people are being distracted, but now people are like, let's leave the coliseum and have a look what's happening in the world. And it's like South Korea, Japan, you name it, there's a revolution. And people are starting to think maybe Orwell was right, maybe Jesus is right, and maybe we need to stand our ground rather than be submissive, because these attacks on globalized levels, such as the Olympics, you poke a bear in the back so many times that it'll come around and get you. And now we're starting to turn around.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So. Okay, going about that, you said submissive, but I always wondered, was it submissive or was it tolerance? Like, okay, you guys believe that, but you know, we're letting you do it. What do you think of that, John? Was it submissive or tolerance that we've got? Because to get it clearly, the hate has been rising like crazy, and even though there's people coming out and hating on Charlie now, a lot of them are losing their jobs, so that's going to stop very quickly. But I was theorizing that the hate stopped with Charlie's throat, And what I mean by that is people have stood up and said, no, enough. You guys are out of control. You know, but what are your thoughts on that? There was a question in there. I've seemed to have lost it. I started with one.
Okay. Well, I think I think it was about the hate. I think the hate will keep going. I think the hate for Charlie Kirk and the hate for the right will keep going. And I think we'll see that continue even here in Australia. I think with social media and I think that'll just I think that'll keep going in my opinion. But I think the light that's going to come out of the followers of Charlie Kirk is going to be much brighter than that darkness is going to be in practical terms, in like actual everyday practice, like in your daily conversations. And it might not come out in the social media or the mainstream media as much, but in everyday conversations, people are going to be way different than those who hate Charlie Kirk, and there's going to be a difference. Um, Jesus said that you'll be my disciples, like they will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. That's going to be the difference here. Us who are Christians, who even conservatives who follow Charlie Kirk, we're going to be the ones who are loving one another and being tolerant of different people's views and being understanding and being there practically to help people, even if we don't agree with them, and reaching out to people that we don't agree with. And those who hate Charlie Kirk and who espouse those Marxist views, who really hate us, um, eventually at some point they're going to be the minority. At some point, whether I don't know what point that'll be, but I don't think it'll be straight away. I think um, this will take time to sort of subside. But like when you see a Nazi protest, you're immediately repulsed by it. And I think that's what we will see with this. This is going to become a extreme sort of thing where you're repulsed by it, that you're like, oh, I can't believe this even exists in society. Because that's how much the Christianity is going to shine in this next generation, in my opinion.
Wow. It's really interesting, you know, it's taking one bullet and one man that we've seen fallen, and literally we were all in the crowd watching him, you know, and they've shot him there. He had freedom written on his t-shirt, you know, and freedom of speech. And yet, even though that day was devastating, you sense that the haters aren't succeeding. Like they're literally going out, and now where before they might have been celebrated or allowed to stay on Twitter, now they're being kicked off. Now they're losing their jobs. And this was a question. I'll start with Riley. The people are celebrating the fact that these haters are losing their jobs and being cancelled. But Charlie was a man of discourse. He gave his whole life to discourse and trying to build bridges. Even if he won arguments, he didn't always win bridges, but I think he was trying to build bridges. So are we sort of betraying Charlie's legacy by celebrating the people who are losing their jobs because they're hating Charlie? You know, would Charlie want us to do that, or would Charlie want us to talk to him? What are your thoughts, Riley?
That's interesting, but I'm struggling with this because it's so hard to feel sorry for them because they've shot themselves in the foot. The leftists have shot themselves in the foot big time. They've opened the floodgates to more radicalized individuals, and I'm sorry, but if you shoot yourself in the foot, that's on you. And it's same goes for all these people who are discriminating against them. I mean, these children don't have a father. This wife doesn't have a husband. If they want to discriminate against Christianity, against a man who stood to only debate people, not to use violence, just to talk to people. If they want to stand and say that, yeah, he was Hitler, he was a Nazi, he was the epitome of Antichrist. If they want to do that, it's on them. They got to take the bullet, and that is being fired. I mean,
that's
it's
like
on
responsibility, consequences for your actions.
Exactly.
You know,
I don't feel sorry for them at all. No.
How about you, John?
It's a really hard question because
it is, man.
like on both sides, like what you've both said is really true. I don't feel sorry for them, but I don't feel like vindictive either. I don't feel like, oh, this is so good that this has happened to them, and it just feels like this is just a natural thing that's happening. That for me, it's just like if you're a business owner and you're like, look, this is not the sort of thing we want to have in our company. You want to remove them, that's fine. If you're like, look, I'm just gonna stay out of this and leave it. I hate what they're saying, but I'm just gonna. That's what they want to do. Then so be it. Like if it's done during company time, it's obviously completely different. Um, yeah, it's really hard because I'm every time I see one of those videos or hear someone speak against Charlie Kirk, I have a little bit of anger in my heart. I'm like, why of all people, Charlie? There's no one who was more kind or loving in the conservative Christian movement. Um, but yeah, I don't feel sorry for them, but I don't feel vindictive either. Yeah, I'm sort of conflicted in my mind, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I'll make it even harder.
Oh
Uh,
no.
what I really believe, and I'm only going to say what I believe is my observations as a 59-year-old man, is people aren't born with the ability to hate. I've had two children, and in their first year a bit, there's no hate. Even when they start drawing, which they do usually, and they draw on everything, once they start making figures, they don't draw swastikas, they don't draw dead people, they draw houses, they draw suns, they draw
Mm,
rainbows. We are taught to hate. And at the moment, our government is teaching us to hate every day. The MSN and everyone is just teaching us to hate and hate and hate. Do you think these people, John, need our help because they are victims of this tsunami of hate and they've got caught up in it? Or do you think they actually believe what they say and they just see things different from us?
That's a really good question. I think we're definitely taught to hate, like that's for sure. Whether we start hating, like if we've got that in our hearts, it's a theological discussion. We can get into that, but I think even though we're taught to hate, that doesn't mean we're victims of it. I think that's still our responsibility. I think the actions, the thoughts, the motives that we take are certainly our responsibility, and it's something we don't think about. It's something we're not really taught to think about. We're not taught to think about what are our presuppositions. Why am I deciding to do this thing? What are the motives behind what I'm doing? And so these people really do need our help. Even if they don't want to be helped, they really do need our help. And so all we can sort of do is offer that olive branch and say, look, we're here to discuss ideas, to help you out in any way. Like even people that absolutely hated Charlie Kirk or hate me or hate anyone on any side of the spectrum, they need our help more than ever. And this is probably the best time that because this is when the hearts are open. This is when people are thinking about these issues. And I think if there's any time to talk about these issues, to extend the olive branch, to reach out to people that we disagree with, I think that's now. And that's really hard. Like I'm saying it, it's easy to say. It's another thing to actually do it. And I just hope that as the conservative movement, we won't be vindictive or or um empowered by rage or anything like that. I hope we're empowered by love and by reality. I think and that's hard. It's really hard. But I think that's the only true Christian thing that we can do.
How about yourself, Riley? Do you think these people are victims of all this hate ideology? I mean, they say universities are like indoctrination places. Now, I mean, to be honest, we talk about this as old people. You see, I grew up with a mother and a father. When I was here in Australia in 1970s, I was 5, and there was enough work around that my father could work, and my mother stayed at home and raised us until we were all in school, and then she would do some part-time work. But you could afford a mortgage on that. You could afford a car on that. We'd have holidays. It was a really blessed life. When I see what young people are facing now, houses were affordable. I mean, we were living within walking distance of the beach, and we were not rich. And so it was kind of a different time, and no one was peddling hate. Everything was like on your mate. Everything was about how good we were, and everyone sort of lent more. There was bad people around and criminals, but to the most people liked the fact that we were fair. But nowadays, children, if the parents want, they go into daycare literally from weeks after being born, and their whole education is with the state, where the state is actually like a substitute parent, and so they're indoctrinated from that level. And we know now that in Victoria, they want to start teaching 5-year-olds they can be any gender they want, and
Well, they're
so
already doing that.
yeah, they're already doing that. So the thing
Yeah,
is, can we have sympathy that these people, just human beings, flawed and full of potential, have grown up in this indoctrination sort of education system, and are hating and maybe not even knowing they're hating? I mean, that's the clues as to why they hated Charlie. Was it because at their base there was nothing they were standing on except bullshit? But do you think we owe them sympathy? I know you said you don't feel sorry for them, but do we owe them sympathy and love in the fact that they might be victims of a state that's gone rogue?
Well, I have to argue that and say no. To be honest, I don't agree with that sentiment. I know it's overly Christian. It's sympathy and love, and however, I'm an example of being indoctrinated. I went to school. I went to kindergarten. I was taught that gender and sex are very different things. I was taught to hate my ancestors. I can't get into the workforce properly because of all. But then we're taught if you speak up against that, you're evil. If you speak up against the institution, you are evil. And everyone is given that option. Do you stand? Do you die? Do you die standing or do you die kneeling? And everyone's not standing at all. Like they're pretty much lying down flat, not even kneeling. And you're given that opportunity. You are exposed to a lot on social media. And that's a big reason why they're banning social media, because that's the one platform where people are able to access Christianity in a legitimate way. Because if you look at Christianity in school, like I went to a Catholic primary school, they didn't preach what I believe at all, to be honest with you. Like I believe it's almost like a hybrid Christianity, because what they teach in institutionalized Christianity is not what I believe. It's very what could I say? It's very out of context. It's very much it's been developed into our society, and our society is very, as you know, John, if you'd agree with me, that our society is very secular. Secularization has gotten to our society to a great extent. That's what I'm trying to say here. And you would agree with that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So did you survive? Oh, sorry, go ahead, John. Riley, finish.
No.
I was just going to say if you have the church evolving into the secularized state, this state that is strongly opposing Christianity, how do you think that'll affect the church and what they're preaching at church? It's very much, it's very much paradoxical to what the Bible actually says. So that's how I stand with it.
So how did you survive that? How come the indoctrination didn't work with you, right? I'll come to you in a second, John.
That's what I want to know.
Probably the same question, but how did you survive that? How did you become Riley when basically the world was trying to make you into the shooter?
Well, what happened to me was when I converted actually through hatred. So the Bible at our school was actually ripped up and burnt. I heard about it, and I'm thinking maybe it's more than just some papers. And I'm thinking maybe I should read it. And I started to read it, and I got red pilled, and I'm like, maybe Jesus was right. Maybe Jesus was the king. And I'm starting to see, like, the first part of the Bible, the Old Testament, is environmentalism, right? These people who are environmentalists in the modern day I mean, they're all socialist, and a big aspect of communism is environment is an obstacle to true communist state. It is an obstacle to the communist state. So they're so contradictive. And it's just like, it makes so much sense. I'm not strapping myself to a road. I'm not going to farmers and saying, you're a farmer, you have animals, you're a Nazi. I'm saying that God made Earth. He loves us. He made us all this. We've got the beach. We got beach. I got a beach right over there. Like, got the river, and it's such a beautiful country. It's such a beautiful world.
Yes.
It just makes sense. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's how
So someone burnt the Bible in your school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what, you found pages of the burnt Bible, or you actually went and got another Bible?
No, I actually bought the Bible on Amazon like a couple of weeks later, because it was just playing in my mind. And I'm thinking,
wow.
But yeah, and they also got the Quran. They put it in the fact section, and I'm so they're very much so like that's what kind of turned me into this, you know.
But before you were there, before you got to that point, how were you surviving? Were you buying what they were selling you, or is at some point in your years of education, did you stop buying what they were selling you?
I've had a couple of amazing teachers that stood out to me. Amazing teachers that actually were like, hey, Riley, guess what? Blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of inciting this different narrative, because it's a state globalist narrative that we are indoctrinated into.
Yes.
And I tell you what, that's one narrative, and there are so many narratives throughout history. And this narrative is it's just nowhere near the truth, nowhere near it. If you know a grain of history, you can go to one of those classes and just go, what the are we learning? Like, what is this? Yeah. It's just, and then like we're learning about World War I. We spend so much time on women in the home front. This is one example, women in the home front in ammunition factories. Yeah, that's important. But what about the 17 million men who died in the war? But no. Let's spend about 3-4 lessons on this, because this is important. What about them? They kind of died. They kind of went through gas attacks. Who gives a crap about them? Yeah. But I mean, that's indoctrination into that's why kids now today with Antifa, they're going to cenotaphs and they're putting like swastikas on there. These guys were evil. Anzacs were scum. That's why they're doing that. And it's, I get what you're saying, actually. It's kind of not their fault. That's what I'm saying. Thrust into this. Yeah. I kind of see what you're saying.
Maybe something in you, either a gene or something that could withstand it. You know what I mean? Because it's the same with the COVID. There is a minority that didn't buy any of the propaganda from the beginning. They're the persecuted now. They're the lowest rung in society. You're an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
You are the foundation of society. ICE addicts, pedophile, everyone's above you. You know this. And they did that because you challenged the narrative. You said, I don't believe it. You know,
the narrative. Yeah,
I think well, I actually didn't take it, but I really felt, and I wasn't overtly religious then, but my thing was, one, I think my immune system can handle it. I was quite in awe of my immune system. And but it's been really interesting seeing the persecution of it all. But that what I'm saying, that takes the strength of you to stand up to that. And are the strong in our society, do we have an obligation to help those who are not as strong? You know what I mean? You're strong. Yeah. You're not strong like Arnold Schwarzenegger walking around, you know, or Schwarzenegger, not Schwarzenegger. You know, you're not like Rambo Christian, just going around taking everyone out. You have some strength in you, and then you found God, which has sort of helped that strength, maybe help clarify.
I'm also curious about John as well. Like, how did John do this as well? It's incredible what he's doing. He's on this journey to becoming a priest. I'm just interested.
Really yeah. So I've interrogated Riley enough. Your turn, John. Because you've grown up. I didn't grow up in that. Yeah. We were actually taught to think in school. I remember we were going algebra. Why are we learning algebra? People were saying. And the teacher said, so you can learn how to think. And so they were actually interested we're more interested in making us think than they were in telling us what to think. But you've grown up in the same education system as Riley. So how did you get through that, John? Or were you homeschooled?
Well, no, I was homeschooled, but that was at the end, so it doesn't. Every time I say that, everyone's oh, it doesn't count. I'm like, no, it does count. um, but I was basically homeschooled before I started school. That's how I sort of think about it. Before any school could even get to me, my parents had already got to me with Christianity. Like I was soaked. Like I always talk about it. Like I feel like I was soaked in the Bible. Like all my thoughts were about the Bible. Everything I watched was about the Bible. I didn't get indoctrinated by like TV shows or anything like that. Back then, the ABC like 22, it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. Nowadays, I wouldn't show my kids if I had kids that television program. I wouldn't show them any of the mainstream media, except just to show them propaganda. Um, but when I started schools, I always went to Christian schools. Um, I went to one and then I moved to another one. And the second one I went to, they were quite good, a bit expensive, but they had like great buildings and everything. They had huge, amazing buildings that you'll be like, what are you talking about? But the reason why they do is because the government is partially funding them. They're semi-private, but the government funds them so far. They get all these buildings, and then little pieces of the curriculum the government feeds it in. So like here and there, you get all these like sort of blind spots. Um, and with like the secularization of society that Riley was talking about, there's a lot of nominal Christians that have risen up through the ranks. And I saw that through my school. Every year, me and my parents would be fighting with the school about some issue. I think grade 3, there was a Chinese teacher who said, "Go check your horoscope." I think it was grade 5 or 6 where we were singing songs about witches and stuff like that, and I wouldn't sing, and then we argued about that for a while. And actually, I had a friend who was younger than me, and the year after, they didn't have the book with all the witches in it, so thank God for that. Um, and then the last straw was I started grade 9, the first week of grade 9, I started late, and I started reading this book. It was full of sexual innuendo and swearing and every bad thing under the sun from a Christian school, right? This is a Christian school. It's a very high regarded Christian school down here in Victoria. Um, and I was so like I was like to my parents, I'm like, this stuff is getting into my head. I'm like, I don't want it to get into my head. I don't want to be part of this secular, like this awful stuff. And so they're like, oh yeah,
Oh,
so
so
then
you were
don't
being
read it. My
taught
dad,
this. It wasn't a book for you to read if
yeah,
you wanted to. This was actually being taught to you.
no, no, yeah, this was the curriculum. This was the actual curriculum.
Wow.
And all my friends, they were okay with it. Like friends that were sons of pastors and involved in ministry and just Christians, and they were just okay with this. I'm thinking, why are you okay with this? This is disgusting. And so I got really angry and I had like righteous indignation and I wrote this huge letter to the head of my high school. And at the end of it, I put your soul is in danger. And my parents were like, okay, don't put that in, just leave that bit out. And I'm like, okay, fine. And so I wrote to him, and then he said, uh, "Oh, thanks for writing to me. I understand your concerns. I'll pass you on to the English department because you're supposed to talk to them first." I'm like, "Oh, great, okay." So then I had a meeting with the English department, and these are the words they said to me. They said, "From this point onwards, it's only going to get worse." That's the response they had to me. They didn't address any of my concerns. They just said, "Oh, this is just going to get worse." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I told my parents, and then a week later, I left the school and I started homeschooling a couple months later.
Wow. Yeah,
Oh,
So
we've actually done stories about that. I'll tell you how incredible it is. We have some women on there trying to get certain books banned from schools, and they
yeah,
went
yeah,
to their local council and they brought in slides, pictures from the book, and the
yeah. I've heard
councillors
about this.
would not let them be displayed because they said they were
Yeah,
offensive. But
mm,
this was being taught in primary schools. Now, I'm going to
yeah.
tell
That's
you,
right.
I just want to show you from context. That's why I think it's interesting to having the two ages. I was always brought up in Catholic schools, and we were the first ones to have sexual education, and it was a huge thing. A huge thing. I think I was in year 9, year 10. I can't remember. My sexual education, one class only. All I
Wow.
remember is all the boys were in this one meeting room, and there was a nun who didn't have much of a sense of humor, with her arms crossed, glaring at us, and there was a screen, and on the screen there was I don't mean to embarrass by this, but it's so funny. There was a young man just pencil drawing with a blanket over his bottom, so just his back, and he was facing away. And the thing said, "Sometimes at night you'll wake up and there'll be a damp patch in the bed. Don't worry about it. Just roll over and go to sleep. It'll dry soon." That was it. And if anyone laughed, the nun was like, so we're all sitting there going this. And that was sex education. But the thing is, we all went off to have kids. We all ended up having sex. One thing which makes I can't understand why they're so determined to push it in the schools is there's 8 billion people on the planet. We know how to make babies. We're pretty well good at it. It's not an issue. And we pretty well find out for ourselves who we're attracted to. We got that in the bag.
Well, that's the thing, right? The schools, the governments have taken the role of parents in the church.
That's right.
Schools have taken the role of what the parents should be teaching about, learning what their kid are good at, instead of having everyone at the same level and learning at the same sort of level. They can develop a curriculum that's based on a child's actual, like, what they're good at, what their talents are, what their DNA has formed their mind to be. And when sex education, what age that is. For some kids it'll be earlier, some kids it'll be older. And then the government has taken over the church's role of doing welfare and that sort of thing. Where now we're living in a welfare state where almost, I think, about half of the country is employed by the government, most of it through welfare. And that's not the government's role. That's the church's role. The church is the one who's supposed to be doing all these things. But we've let the government come in, we've let the schools come in, we've let the media come in and dictate to us how we're supposed to live our lives. And I'm no libertarian, but at the moment I prefer libertarianism over what we've got now.
Just listening to what the system of government we have, Riley, as a historian, what sort of system of government does that remind you of?
Nationalist socialist, straight off the bat. No freedom of speech, Hitler Youth, so indoctrinating mindless studs in a classroom. Straight away I can see resemblance.
But the thugs now have rainbow hair and won't stand for anybody questioning.
I mean, I love how John said, it's always the English staff room, isn't it? I swear. It's always the liberal English teachers. I swear, man. So you get what you pay for. But no, exactly the same as the National Socialists. And it's like if you look at footage from the Nuremberg rallies in the 1930s, you look at the flags line the streets, line the parade grounds. LGBT flags line the streets, line the parade grounds. It's exactly the same. They have their flag that represents something so I don't want to get censored, but
don't worry, we're so censored on this show. Say what you want, man. They can't cancel me twice, otherwise I bounce back into life. So go ahead.
But it's just the flags practically mean the same thing. They are Nazi feminists. That's basically what they are. They want children to be killed in the womb. That's why more children have been killed since 2000 than in men in wars. 28% of our generation, John, have been killed in the womb. It's absolutely disgusting. So we have people like us standing up. We're pretty risky by saying this, but
you are. I'm really admiring your courage for coming on. I realize, they can't do anything more to me. They've already cancelled my career and stuff. But so I admire your courage. So only go as far as you're willing to go. I just want to bring up, I think this is something, I got a few Charlie things here.
You don't happen to get pregnant. It's not like getting COVID.
I know how it works.
Okay,
I know.
Watch this.
If I just
this is Charlie being Charlie.
If I just happen to be pregnant.
You don't happen to get pregnant. It's not like getting COVID.
I know how it works. I know how it works.
You don't get the flu.
I know.
How about this? You take responsibility for your orgasms and stop eliminating people smaller than you.
So you're saying I should carry a baby and ruin my collegiate life?
How about this? Instead of saying ruin, first of all, babies are a blessing. Stop talking at them as if they're some sort of annoyance.
I will have to drop out of college.
Number two, You play certain games, you win certain prizes. If you're going to go have sex,
so you're saying I should drop out of college to support my child instead of supporting my life?
I'm saying if you're going to engage in coitus, in the practice of having children, you might end up with a baby. So know that. And guess what? You don't need to have sex before you get married. It's not like showering. It's not like eating.
Are you married?
Yes, with 2 beautiful children.
Wow, good for you.
I could tell you're not married.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
It's interesting. So I it's just so interesting hearing it. I'm actually wondering, do you think the state, and either anyone can do this, the state has engineered a society now where narcissists can flourish? And what I mean by that is people who are just consumed completely by themselves, like that girl. I can't finish college. The baby means nothing if she was pregnant. Where in actual fact, I know from when my ex was pregnant, the women become different. You know, they just glow. There's a different beauty about them, and it's quite extraordinary. It really takes, it's quite an extraordinary process coming from conception. Not so much from man, because it takes us a while before we can see a lump and stuff, but it's incredible. And yet that girl is all about her. I won't be able to do college. I. And the baby is basically a, what would you say? Encumbrance or something. What do you think? Do you think we're creating a society that's encouraging narcissism?
You can have a go, Riley.
All right. So this all about me kind of thing. So in Satanism, I don't know if you're aware of this, John, but I assume you would be.
No.
The most important celebration of the year is a person's birthday, because it's all about them.
Oh.
And they think of themselves as God. So they empower themselves through demonic. Yeah, so they empower themselves through demonic spells and etc. So they are all about them. So this is almost demonic in the way that it's all about them. A Christian is all about, like, man has been built in the vision of God. So we are to carry out God's work. They are to carry out their own sentiments, their own works for the devil. That's what they are. They're selfish. And these people are selfish. So, and it's very narcissistic. 100%. I agree with you. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you strongly, very strongly.
Wow.
And to the government system, it's definitely built to be narcissistic, because, like, we're always looking for subsidies, we're looking for welfare, we're looking about how the government can benefit me instead of how I can help my country. There's like a quote like by some president who said that.
I think it was Dwight Kennedy.
And
Ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country.
yeah,
No, ask
that's
not
what.
what you can do, what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Yeah, exactly. And we're the opposite. Like, with 50% of people on welfare, the NDIS, every kid under the sun is got some sort of disease that all of a sudden needs money to survive, and like the ones that actually do need it, they can't get on the NDIS. And like student like fees, we're seeing like HECS debts go through the roof, that they had to cut it off. Like, they cut off amount for a year. I'm glad I didn't take a HECS loan. I'm paying it off semester by semester, so I don't have to pay all the interest and worry about all those things later in life. We're just pushing things later and later and later. It's all about me right now. It's all about the present. We don't think about the future. That's what's wrong. Economically, that's what's wrong. Governmentally, that's what's wrong. Spiritually, we're not thinking about the eternal things. We're thinking about the present things. And so, yeah, it's like the system is now pandering to the narcissist. But it's maybe not pandering. It's more developing a narcissist type of person that is flourishing in society.
And almost protected too. You know, it's you know, if you tax it, where there was a period, it seems to be ending now, where if you misgendered someone, you could be sacked. So these narcissists, who we see swinging now and losing their crap now, we're actually a protected species, and that protection seems to be waning. now they're losing their jobs. You know, it's really interesting. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm going to end it up by I'll start with you, John, and end with Riley. What would you like to see going forward? What would you like if you were praying for it? What would you like to see happen in the way society went forward from here?
Okay. I want to see more people get saved. I want to see more people come to Christ and become Christians because ultimately that's the only place that I have hope, and I believe that's the only place you can have hope. I believe we're all sinners who have fallen short of the glory of God, and God has made a way for us to come into communion with Him and to enter His presence forever. And I think um, whatever fulfillment that we try and find in society, we're always left with a bigger hole. And I think the only way that you can be fulfilled is in Christ. That's because He's eternal. We're always looking at small things to fill a. We're thinking of a drug that'll help us get over this depressive phase, or to drink the bottle for a while because that makes me feel good. But ultimately we have to look at an eternal solution. We have to look at a solution that's beyond the present and the now. And I think that's what I want to see forward. And yeah, and I'd love to see more people join the Young Conservatives for Christ. So if you're a young Christian that's interested in politics, you can go to our website and check that out too.
Hey, cool. What? Put in the there's a thing on the side, private chat. Can you see that?
Okay.
Put that
Uh,
email in there. Put what it is, and then the
well,
email, and I'll put it in the comments. So if anyone
um,
does watch this, they can
okay.
join. And actually, I have
Studio
one
chat.
tiny little question to add to that. Do you think I'm going to be honest now? I'm an old man, and I used to watch Charlie. It's not that I was obsessed with him every day. It's just you sit down, you finally get some time, you look down, and he was enjoyable to watch. I was in awe of his ability to remain calm and respectful when there was just hate was thrown at him. And so I was just in awe of this man. But he changed my life. Something in me said, okay, I'm never going to be him, but I want to be stronger at this. I'm not going to stand by now if I see something, some person calling something out that I disagree with. I'm going to have discourse, and I'm going to talk to them, which I've actually been doing. So there's something changed in me. I feel like I really want to fight for a better Australia, and I think Christian fundamental values are something great and decent that we can build a country
Mm,
upon, which our children will benefit from. So, has
mm.
Charlie changed your life? The death of Charlie changed you in any way, or aren't you aware of how yet, John?
I think I like he definitely has. I think in the last few months, I've been considering how I walk with God and how I do different things, and it's some sort of things that I've sort of been slacking in and sort of considered doing and acting in certain ways. And since I've been considering his assassination over a few days, I'm like, uh, I've just got to double down now. Um, it's crazy that it takes the death of someone for me to be like, I'm going to be committed to God and actually like be committed in my private life as well as my public life. So yeah, personally, he's definitely had an effect, and I'm sure the effect will continue. I think uh, maybe as a side note, I think so many more people are going to be bolder, like in the Christian social media space. I've seen it already, where people like one Christian artist, Forrest Frank, he lost 30,000 followers in the last week because he's posted a bit more about Jesus and about Charlie Kirk. And he's like, you know what? I don't care because you need to become a Christian. And people are doubling down. And I think I hope I double down, and I hope every Christian, every conservative doubles down and says, we're going to stand up, we're going to live the legacy of Charlie Kirk, and we're going to serve Jesus for eternity.
Thank you, John. Riley, so what would you like to see for Australia? And Australia, you basically you're at the shore of Australia now, the fading golden shores. But here you are, young Australian, future in front of you. I know you're thinking of leaving the country, which I totally get. But you've got children, the possibility of children in you, and all this. So what would you like to see if you had an ability to change the world? What would you like to see change in Australia?
A lot. A lot. So, well, to begin with, it's a cultural thing. It's very much a cultural thing. We need extreme cultural reformation immediately. The state is playing, the role the state is playing is absolutely demonic. We need to sort that out immediately. We need to sort out secularization. And it goes with economics as well. So we need to stop catering to the world. We need to start catering for Australians. We need to be nationalistic. We need to preserve our resources. We need to build our economy up, make it great again. And we just got to work on our country so much, and we've got to stop being distracted by the world. As I said before, it's like a coliseum of being decepted into the world of entertainment, sports. We need to stop being distracted, and we need to start not being woke, but waking up to the truth in the world, because the end of the Roman Empire is coming very close. You look at the world around us, New Zealand, Australia, like all these countries are rising up. Like even in Nepal, like they burnt the parliament down, which is absolutely insane. The power of Gen Z it's something we have never seen before. And it's going to get more intense, and there's going to be violence as it is a byproduct of revolution. So we need to cater more to humanitarianism over political, as I said, like political extremism. But the left did shoot themselves in the foot big time. They opened the floodgates to more, and people are going to see that. It's going to be appealing, because people are under the impression that how do you counteract violence? You counteract it with violence, of course. And people are going to see this. And it's up to us to kind of push in that direction of humanitarianism rather than, because if we want to maintain this moral superiority over the left, even though they feel as if they are morally superior, we need to maintain our stance on humanitarianism, despite all the bullets coming our way. That's what I believe.
There's one of my favorite quotes of all time. I believe it's from Gandhi, where he says, "An eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind." And that's where I see the hope in Charlie, that we're not burning the world down. People are praying. There's a great video of some guy in America. It looks like he's been poor all his life. He's got his first suit ever, and he's going to go to church. And it's gone. And it's even the video, the camera fell down. He blamed the devil. But this one man has reached millions of people. One man touched by Charlie. It's like dominoes. So I just ask you too, Riley, has the death of Charlie changed anything in you, or is it just something you have another beast of burden that you have to carry as you move on?
I will say that initially it did affect me, made me upset, because we've been, as John and I have been saying, it's a constant barrage we've been under. And to take out one of our prominent figures of Christianity is absolutely appalling. It's very hard not to feel as if extremism is the only route. It's very much it's so appealing, because the world around us is collapsing. The Christianity is somehow rising up in this. So that's the only thing holding the floodgates right now is Christianity, which is incredible. It's the power of Christianity.
Do you think a part of it is all through history? You know this, Riley. All through history, there's been horrendous, terrible times, and just off the scale evil. But one of the challenges for a Christian is, and for anyone really, but let's talk about Christians, is not to defeat evil, because you can't always do that, but to remain human in the face of it. To hold on to these, because they killed Jesus, but they only killed the body. They released the spirit, and we still sell his message today, and this is exactly what I've seen with Charlie. you could almost get to a point, I'm saying, because Charlie had a gift of his debating, and there's people on here saying that he was nasty. I never saw him nasty. Is could this man be like a prophet, like I'm not saying he's the second coming of Jesus, but like a prophet, like a John the Baptist, someone who had the courage to go into this sea of hate that he was surrounded by and speak his truth, and bravely speak his truth, and do it respectfully. I'm not saying you should agree or disagree, but why can't our time have the prophets like they did in the past? Or does it take time? Can you only realize a prophet if you look back in 50 or 100 years? Because I've never known anyone to affect the world like this through their own actions. Princess Diana, people say Princess Diana, but she was this minor royal who became a famous princess. So it's a fairy tale. And of course, it ended up in a gilded cage and destroyed her. But Charlie created this himself. And he did it with faith. Jesus said faith can move mountains. And he did. He really did. And this is what I'm saying. I actually think the fact that you guys have come on here, because that bullet was aimed at you too as well, aimed at your throats, is telling you, we don't agree with what you're saying. Shut up, or we might at some point hurt you. And yet here you've both agreed to come on, and both of you agreed to come on straight away. So their hate has not diminished your courage. That's a beautiful thing. You don't have to say anything to that, but I'm telling you, it's true, man.
Okay.
I know what it's like. You guys can get cancelled, you get in trouble with school. Coming onto a podcast and speaking your mind when at this time takes courage. So that's why I'm in awe of you both coming on. And I'd like to thank you both for coming on. It's an absolute joy, especially as an old. And I know here in the comments, all us oldies are just like going, wow. So you're actually doing a great service for your generation and showing the world that there's great hope in your generation, maybe more hope in your generation than there was in ours, because all the things you're rallying against, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, well, that was us. so no, honestly, it's yeah. I want to thank you with that. So I'm going to go out with the song. You've got each other's emails. If you want to stay in touch, you're connected with the email, and I'll be in touch in the future. If you want to come on, let me know. And also let me know if it's got you into any trouble, because I don't want to get you into any trouble. But if not, let me know.
We'll send you the bill, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no address. I'm in a bus. Just go, Mr. Griffith's World. He's out there somewhere. But I'd really like to know, because I think there's a divide between the generations as well, and I think it's this is a healing thing. I mean, we've had this nice night here. A hero of all three of us was killed, and we're not calling for the deaths of other people. We're not ranting and raving. We've been talking like we've been talking. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just proud now. I'm just proud. Anyway, thank you, John. Thank you, Riley. Thank you for coming on. I wish you the best. I'll send you the links for the Substack and everything tomorrow, and feel free to share it. Otherwise, have a great day. God bless you both. And just as a saying, just to actually have everyone go, holy crap, would either of you like to take us out with a prayer? You want to go,
I
John?
did last time, so I think you can do it, Riley.
All right. Well, I've actually so I'd like to say something from the Bible. So Romans 14:8. If we live, we live for the Lord, and if we die for the Lord. And that's exactly what Kirk did, Charlie Kirk did. So there's very much power in what he's done. God bless his family. It's disgusting to see that children don't have a father anymore, and a wife, doesn't have a husband. So God bless them. And I just pray for their well-being ultimately, because they are, well, they're the ones mostly affected, not just us. We love Charlie Kirk, but they're his family. So I just pray for them over them. Yeah.
Amen.
And amen.
And look at this here, lovely young man. There's hope for us yet. So you've spread a lot of hope today, young gentleman. Very appreciative of it. Good night, everyone. Playing the same song we started with, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
It was raining last night. I could hear it dancing on the roof. I fell asleep listening to the beauty of rain. But when I woke, you were gone. Someone had used their hate to take you away. And so the rain of last night is now raining inside of me. I think the angels just might be standing up to welcome you home, as we remain here fighting in the trench that just grew colder. But despite the shot, I know you're not dead. Instead, you're leaving light could become our new dawn. I wonder if when your mother first held you, as all the love you brought was a dawn in her eyes. Did if she ever sensed then that a warrior was here, with a tongue for a sword and the armor of truth? For in a darkening world that's being turned upside down, you were a single man that rose until we could see you from here. How many roads must a man walk down before we call him a man? Well, I'm on your road, to try and emulate you by constructing a sign that reads, Charlie Kirk, a man passed this way. On his journey to the son who he knew, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us home. On his journey to the son who Charlie believed, if we faithfully followed, would one day lead us all